My name is Jon Benson. I am the Assistant District Ranger for Recreation and Wilderness on the Superior National Forest East Zone. I've been with the Forest Service since 2002 and on the Superior National Forest since 2008. And I am just so excited to be here to talk to folks because I think I have one of the coolest jobs in the world. I get to come and deal with recreation every day. So one of the primary uses of the National Forest is for folks getting out and recreating, whether that's hiking, biking, canoeing, ATVs, snowmobiles, skiing, all those things. So like my job absolutely never gets boring. There's different stuff to do every day. I get to work with a bunch of really tremendous people and answer some really tough and engaging questions from the public. So I love what I do, and I hope to share my joy and passion with folks who would like to get into the career in the future. Favorite part of my job is when I actually get to go out in the woods and paddle a canoe around or go for a hike on a trail. As you start advancing through your career, sometimes you get stuck into more of the planning and analysis and budgeting and that sort of stuff, but really nothing brings me more joy than actually getting out and accomplishing work on the ground. And sometimes that means taking a crosscut saw out to fell a large hazard tree in the wilderness, or really working through some ski trail grooming in the winter. I don't think I can narrow it down to just one favorite thing, but providing recreation opportunities and enhancing those, I guess, would be the catch-all for what my favorite part of the job is, because every day I get to make things a little bit better for people that want to come and recreate on the National Forest. In our forest, we have a very complex program. For folks that are familiar with the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness, it is extremely challenging to work through a lot of the intricacies of visitor use and trying to mirror those with policy, law, regulation, acts of legislation. So we're constantly kind of going through and balancing out what's happening in the woods versus how that reflects on policy. And sometimes as new things come along, we have to rewrite that and kind of fly by the seat of our pants sometimes. For an example on that, electronic bikes, something that wasn't thought of 15, 20 years ago, and now working through whether those qualify as motorized bikes or if they're just an electric bike. So new technology brings a whole new ball game into things here. And so I think changes in visitor use would be a huge challenge, but also just change in perceptions of how things are managed. So, but it's all exciting. Awesome question. It's actually one of my favorite questions, and especially talking to young people, which I should have said is probably one of my favorite parts of my job, is thinking back on my career path. I am one of those few lucky individuals that I really knew what I wanted to be when I grew up at a very young age. So I started going on canoe trips with my dad at a very young age in the Boundary Waters. And ever since then, I kind of knew in the back of my head that I wanted to work in natural resource management and recreation. And I remember a school trip to Glacier National Park in high school, where I was kind of sitting on a log overlooking this sweet river, and just it really hit home then of this is what I want to do. And at that point, I was in high school and kind of had an idea, what I wanted to do. So I attended the University of Minnesota in the Twin Cities and majored in recreation resource management with a minor in forest resources. And from there, after graduating in 2001, I took a job with the Forest Service in 2002 in the southeast part of the United States, primarily in Louisiana and Mississippi and North Carolina. So I spent 2 years traveling the southeast doing what's called forest inventory and analysis. And that's basically a national forest survey where you're going in all public and private lands to basically determine what's out there. And I had a really awesome experience doing that for a couple of years of just getting to see some parts of the country that you know you would never see on vacation, and quite frankly some parts of the country that no one in their right mind should ever be going through when you're chasing off snakes and alligators in the Chapalaya Basin in southern Louisiana. Very interesting start for this northern kid from Minnesota to jump in with snakes and alligators. But it gave me an opportunity to really get to know the ins and outs of the Forest Service and how I wanted to see my career path go from there. Knowing I always wanted to get back into recreation and wilderness management, I kind of took a little diversion from there and went up to the Hiawatha National Forest and worked as a pre-sale forester, where I was basically putting together timber sale contracts and supervising a timber marking crew on the Hiawatha out of kind of Escanaba area, for folks who are familiar with that. And while my passion has always been recreation, getting to work in the timber area and get some exposure to some firefighting opportunities there really helped hone some of my leadership skills and a better understanding on the interdisciplinary team process. And when I say interdisciplinary team, that's one of the best parts of working for the Forest Service, is we work with folks from all different areas, recreation, wilderness, timber, firefighting, silviculture, wildlife, biology, botany. We all have to work together and come up with, similar goals for how the National Forest is going to be managed. So after spending 5 years doing that in the UP, I had the great opportunity to come back to Minnesota as the wilderness manager for the east half of the Superior National Forest in the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. And it's one thing to kind of have a vision of a job that you want from a very young age, and then actually be able to live that dream. It's a very unique opportunity, and even on the hardest days, the most challenging, whether they're physically taxing or emotionally or mentally taxing, I can always kind of go back to say, I get to be what I wanted to be when I grow up. And so it is a pretty unique opportunity. And since that time in 2008, I've been on the Superior, basically bouncing around a couple jobs from wilderness to developed recreation. And now I'm the assistant ranger for both those programs. The easy answer is to find out what you love and what brings you joy. But I'd say almost as a part of that, finding out what you don't like to do is a really important thing too. If you want to work in a natural resource setting, there is a place for everyone, whether it's actually running out there with the chainsaw or answering questions or doing education and interpretation. There's truly a place for everyone within the Forest Service.